Coming out of high school, how many D1 football scholarship offers did you get?
Zero.
Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think you were unable to get one?
A combination of a number of things. I think that the area that I grew up in is not heavily recruited. The offense that we ran, it's not like, I think there's a trend lately that the spread has kind of filtered down from the college to high school. A lot of teams are throwing the ball 40, 50 times a game. Now, I put up pretty big numbers, but not a lot of people really knew about me. And then I think, there's so many outlets now for kids to get exposure with the different Nike camps they can go to and combines and team camps and stuff where you can get your name out there. I don't think people up in Chico really knew about that. Myself and my family, we didn't know about that. So I didn't really have a chance to get any exposure out there. And thus, I was getting recruited by Occidental and Lewis and Clark and Claremont McKenna and some of these schools that, the normal college football fan probably hasn't heard of.
And Occidental, I understand, wanted you to actually even sit out a year. How did you handle not getting any D1 football scholarship offers coming out of high school?
It just made me work that much harder, I think. There was a big moment for me in the spring because I was really trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Was I going to walk on somewhere? Because I had applied to some different schools. Was I going to walk on? Was I going to do something different? Was I going to play baseball? Because I played that spring. And then Coach Rigsby from Butte College approached me and said, hey, we'd love for you to come out and compete for the job. And I also had some opportunities to play at different junior colleges and ultimately decided to play at Butte and then played in this all-star game in the summer after my senior year. And that was a game that really gave me a lot of confidence back that I played pretty well. I ran around pretty well. I'd trained all summer kind of leading up to this game, and that was a big confidence boost for me.
How much consideration did you give to quitting football before you got to college?
I gave it definitely some serious consideration. At the time I was weighing, after my spring baseball year, which went pretty well, pitching at least, batting was a struggle.
You were throwing in the low 90s, I hear?
It gets better every year, yeah. 95, yeah. No, I was throwing definitely pretty hard. There were supposedly a couple scouts who had came and looked at me at some point. But that was my only year of baseball since my 8th grade season. And I was really considering playing summer baseball, because I had an opportunity to play with the Legion team in town, or train and play in this all-star football game and then go to Butte College, or just do something completely different. So those are kind of 3 options I was weighing, and football was still my first love, so that kind of won out.
Tell me about that rejection letter you got from Purdue.
That was, I think, the first rejection letter I got. It's interesting, being in Chico, California, the most interest I got, and a lot of the film that we sent out was to Big Ten schools. I got a letter a week from the University of Wisconsin.
And I'm smiling because it's funny looking back, obviously not at the time, though.
No, I mean, it's the story is the most important thing, and it makes it all the much sweeter for me. But it's funny that, Wisconsin was recruiting me. We sent stuff to Purdue, Illinois, the head coach, Ron Turner. His uncle, his nephew was actually my quarterback coach in high school as well. So I went out to his camp, and they offered another kid in the camp. It's just the Purdue letter just said, you don't match up well against guys we're evaluating. And I think there was a line in there that I may have highlighted.
Yeah, what was that?
I think it said, good luck with your aspirations in football or something like that, which I know they didn't mean any ill will about it,
sure.
But I sure took that to heart and took that as a slap in the face and said, okay.
So what do you recall from the first time you met with Coach Rigsby?
My mom said, no son of mine, will go to Butte College, and which is extremely ironic now and funny. But first time I met with Coach Rigsby, it was, I think, eye-opening for my mom, especially, just to see, number one, what a great guy he was, and number 2, how much he cared about Butte College and advancing his players and the stories he told, and just the love that he had for those guys he'd coached and how much he wanted to see them be successful. And that started to change her mind and her opinion of Butte. me, that was definitely it was definitely Butte over Shasta and really anywhere else that was looking at me. Once we got later in the spring, and eventually that was where I ended up.
You only ended up spending one season at Butte, though, because very quickly Cal coach Jeff Tedford, with the blessing of Coach Rigsby, came in, offered you a scholarship after just a year. What do you recall from how that all happened?
Well, I think that's the one thing that I'll always really appreciate about Coach Rigsby is that doesn't happen everywhere. You know, when you get a guy, especially you know, when you get a guy who's playing well, which I was playing very well the first year.
As a true freshman.
As a true freshman, I mean, you care about your program first. I mean, the 99% of the college coaches. Now, I did when I met with Coach Rigsby the first time. I said, look, if I have a good year, you know, how do you feel about me leaving? And he was totally on board. Said, you know, I'll definitely support you. I won't stand in your way. But you know, it was definitely crazy when Coach Tedford showed up, and he was. It's funny now because I'm taller than him, but I felt like he was about 6'8", and had these glasses on, and I was reeling. I think everybody was on edge that day, like, oh, we got a college coach here. And it was a Monday, which we usually don't do anything, but Coach let us go on the side and throw the ball around a little bit.
And you knew in advance he was coming?
I knew earlier that day. I had heard there's little whispers on campus he was coming, so I was a little nervous, obviously, but Coach let us throw on the side, and I hit every pass, and the rest is history.